If a man could time travel repeatedly to his own past, gaining full control over his past, present, and future, what would happen? This mind-twisting tale of a bootstrap paradox unravels in ways no one could predict. It all began in 1968 with a boy named Sam. His mother passed away soon after his birth, and by the time he turned 17 he lost his father as well. Left without family, Sam felt adrift in a world that had given him little kindness. That changed when fate placed a stray cat in his path, a small, scrappy creature he named Pete. From that moment on, Pete became his loyal companion. Soon, another unexpected turn shaped Sam's life. A professor, an old friend of his father's, took him in, offering him a home alongside his wife and daughter, Rico. For the first time, Sam experienced a true family. Encouraged by his new father figure, he pursued mechanical engineering, fascinated by the power of technology. The professor, a brilliant inventor, maintained a home laboratory, a place where he and Sam's late father once built advanced robotic systems. Sam absorbed everything he could, hoping to follow in their footsteps. But just as life seemed stable, tragedy struck again. A devastating plane crash took the lives of his adoptive parents, leaving only him and Rico behind. With nowhere else to turn, Rico's uncle arranged for her to study abroad, while Sam remained behind. Alone once more, he focused all his energy on engineering, determined to make something of himself. By 1995, he had become a key shareholder in his uncle's company and played a crucial role in designing advanced robotics. Yet a major problem lingered: power. The robots they built were revolutionary, but they lacked an efficient energy source. Determined to solve this, Sam worked tirelessly to develop a groundbreaking plasma battery, one that could power machines indefinitely. If successful, it would change the future of robotics forever. Despite his busy life, Sam's home remained unchanged. Pete, his ever-faithful cat, was still by his side, and Rico frequently visited, the only true family he had left. One evening, a knock at the door interrupted a conversation between Sam and Rico. When Rico opened it, she found Rin standing there, Sam's secretary and, more recently, his girlfriend. Rico had never been fond of Rin. Something about her always felt too calculated, too perfect. Though she exchanged pleasantries, Rico soon made an excuse to leave, unwilling to stay around Rin for long. Once alone, Rin brought up a topic she had been pressing for some time: their upcoming marriage. She suggested that Sam transfer some of his company shares to her, ensuring she had voting power in critical business decisions. Trusting her completely, Sam agreed without hesitation. The next morning, his world came crashing down. Upon arriving at the office, his business partner, Kazuto, informed him of a plan to sell their cutting-edge robots and plasma battery technology to a larger corporation. The decision stunned Sam. It was his work, his passion, and he had no intention of letting it go. As tensions rose, Rin stepped into the discussion. She proposed that the decision be put to a shareholder vote. It seemed like a fair approach until Sam saw her cast her vote. To his horror, she sided with Kazuto, approving the sale. At that moment, everything became clear. Rin had never loved him. She had been working with Kazuto from the very beginning, gaining his trust only to manipulate him at the right time. Sam had handed her the very shares that sealed his fate. With Kazuto now in full control of the company, Sam was powerless. His years of work, the machines built from his father's legacy, and his unfinished plasma battery were no longer his. The patents were being sold, and even worse, his access to company resources was revoked. His home laboratory, his last refuge, would be stripped of all equipment. Desperate, he rushed home, hoping to salvage something. But by the time he arrived, it was too late. The company had already seized everything. Standing in the now empty lab, Sam felt the weight of his losses. His dreams, his legacy gone. The betrayal cut deep, but the person who had dealt the final blow was Rin. She had played her part perfectly, pretending to love him while leading him to his downfall. Rico urged Sam to fight back, to take the matter to court, but he refused. He had willingly handed over his shares. There was no legal battle to be won. Overwhelmed by grief, he pushed Rico away, unable to face his reality. Drowning his pain in alcohol, he stumbled upon an advertisement that caught his attention: cryosleep. A process that allowed people to enter a state of suspended animation, waking up decades later, unchanged. It seemed like an escape, the only option left. Determined, he decided to go under for 30 years. He had nothing left except Pete, his one constant. Before undergoing the procedure, he transferred his remaining shares to Rico, ensuring she would have what little remained of his legacy. But just before the process could begin, the doctor's test results revealed traces of alcohol in his system. Cryosleep regulations were strict. He couldn't undergo the procedure while intoxicated. Sam would have to wait. Determined to escape his shattered life, Sam waited until the alcohol left his system before returning to the cryosleep facility. With a final glance at Pete, he stepped into the chamber, allowing the cold embrace of suspended animation to take over. The world faded to black. 30 years later, Sam's eyes fluttered open to an unfamiliar world. The year was now 2025. The facility had changed ownership, and the doctors who revived him had no idea who he was. Stumbling out of the chamber, Sam quickly realized that society had advanced far beyond what he had imagined. Artificial intelligence, self-sustaining robotics, and plasma batteries, the very technology he had worked on, were now commonplace. As he wandered through the city, he saw machines running on an energy source he recognized immediately. The plasma battery, the invention he never finished, had become reality. And the name behind it? His own. Shocked, Sam searched for answers. His name had long been erased from history, but deep within the archives of an old tech company, he found something astonishing. A scientist had appeared nearly 30 years ago, right after Sam entered cryosleep, claiming to be the inventor of the plasma battery. This scientist, using Sam's exact research, had refined and completed the technology, revolutionizing the world. That scientist was him. Or rather, a version of him. A man who looked identical to Sam, only older. A man who had continued his work in secrecy and succeeded. But how? Following the trail, Sam discovered that Rico had spent decades trying to restore what was taken from him. She had invested everything into the research he left behind, rebuilding his lab and working in the shadows. But she hadn't done it alone. A mysterious figure had appeared years ago, giving her guidance and blueprints far beyond the knowledge of their time. Buried within her old records, Sam found something impossible: designs for a time machine. And the signature at the bottom? His own. It was then that he understood. At some point in the future, he would succeed in building a time machine and send himself back in time, ensuring his younger self's research was completed. But if that were true, where was this future version of him now? As he dug deeper, a pattern emerged. Every major breakthrough tied back to a hidden benefactor, an unknown genius who had guided technological advancements from behind the scenes. Tracking down the last known location of this figure, Sam arrived at an abandoned facility in the outskirts of the city. Inside, he found a dimly lit lab filled with aging equipment. In the center of the room sat a frail, elderly man hooked up to life support systems. Sam stepped closer, his heart pounding. The man opened his eyes. It was him. Struggling to speak, the older Sam revealed the truth. After being betrayed in the past, he had spent years rebuilding in secrecy, waiting for the right moment to reclaim what was his. But he had realized something along the way. His younger self had to experience the betrayal, the loss, and the desperation. Without it, he would never have the motivation to take the path that led here. He had become trapped in a bootstrap paradox, a loop where his past self's suffering ensured his future self's success. He had never truly invented the time machine, he had only ever received the knowledge from his future self. But now the loop was breaking. His body was failing. It was time for the younger Sam to take his place. Standing in front of himself, Sam was faced with an impossible decision. He could step into his older self's shoes, continuing the cycle and ensuring his past self received the knowledge. Or he could break the loop, refuse to go back, and risk changing everything. As alarms blared, signaling the collapse of the facility, Sam made his choice. In a distant past, a younger version of Sam, broken and betrayed, stares at a blueprint appearing mysteriously on his desk. A design for a time machine. His eyes widen. The loop continues. Or does it? Subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to bring more movie recaps for you.